bar, so it's got a bunch of little rice floating in it now.
Little rice.
So it's like green tea with rice, but coffee version. That's just
Exactly.
So that's just not pretty. That's a little scary at that point. In fact, no, that's just really scary. Oh, all right, we're live.
We are. So it's got a bunch of little rice. Good Lord, there we go.
Yeah, I just did the same thing.
I know.
Evan, we got pictures. You because you're not showing up on the stream.
I'm protesting.
Are you protesting?
It's protesting.
Why are you protesting?
I don't know.
Are you protesting because you're locked out of the country, or are you protesting because you're having too much fun down there?
Oh, damn, that's a good. I don't know.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, maybe I don't have anything to protest. There I am.
Awesome. I got my lights on. Just doing stuff.
Should I turn the light on?
No, you do what the hell you want. No, because if you turn the light on down there, you got bugs the size of small children come and try to carry you away. I don't. That country's a little scary as far as that shit goes.
That's true. I took a walk down. So we were in downtown Puerto Vallarta, had dinner with the team, and then my wife and I took a taxi back. And once a day, I walk down this hill and walk back up this hill. Ryan, you've done.
Hang on, I know who this is. Pochi, Puff Kit. What the fuck's? Hang on, I got to do this. This might be spam. Hello.
Should we listen?
Hang on a sec, guys. It's not spam.
Are you calling him?
I didn't call him.
Oh shit! Sorry. No, but I walked down that hill, and then walked back up.
Yeah, that's a workout.
Hell yeah, and it was dark already too. And there's that section of that hill. It's like pitch black, and all kinds. You can hear things that you don't normally hear. And there was some fucking flying thing that just like swooped like right in front of my face. I was like, oh shit. But I'm so tired from walking up that fucking hill. I can't run. So I'm like, I'm just
I think you're pronouncing it wrong. You keep calling it a hill. It's a flipping mountain. It's not a hill. It's a mountain.
Sort of is.
Yeah, hang on. Whoa. See, now we got perspective. We got mountains. I got mountains here. We're at like 5,000. It goes up to 8,000. That's the mountain. The stuff that you have up in Wisconsin and like Minneapolis and up there, those aren't hills. Those are like lumpy things.
No, I'm talking about down in
his neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the peak is. Probably 6 up there. I don't know.
Oh, that's got some height on it, definitely.
I mean, I've walked up a lot of hills, and they didn't burn me out like going up the road from the entrance up to the house. The road that you go up.
Yeah, it's a hill.
Oh, it's brutal.
Ow!
You gotta lean. There's times that if you want to keep moving, you gotta lean into it. You gotta, or you just gotta stop and breathe it out.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, that's not a lumpy hill. That's got some serious.
Yeah. So I make it a point to walk down that hill and walk back up that hill at least once a day.
You'll get in shape real quick.
You need the little stupid things with the 2 wheels that you see people going around on doing like city tours.
Oh, Segway?
That's it. Yeah, when you get a couple of Segways there and see if they'll actually work going up and downhill. Oh, come on, it'll be fun.
Well, I've already got plans. So I think we close on this house next week. So that's exciting, because I can actually do what I want to do here. Like we're going to paint the outside security studio blue.
Nice.
Ooh, right? That'll be cool. That'll be cool.
And the upstairs is going to be an FR secure game room. So like we're going to have pictures of the kind of the history of FR secure, some of the people that were really important for getting us where we're at and all that shit. But on this road, I'm going to get go-karts because somebody told me everything's legal in Mexico. I think. So we're gonna get go-karts and then we're gonna station flag men, women, flag people along those corners. Cause there's that one hairpin corner. You know, that one where it's just like,
yeah, just like,
and it's uphill. So it's like
a switchback.
Yeah. So, because we'll have to have flag people on it to tell us when cars are coming, because otherwise, things will get killed.
Yeah.
No, signs. You want sign? Oh, no. Okay, here's what you do. Because there's a business plan in this as well. So as the car comes up, it trips a sensor. Okay. So if the car's coming around the corner and it's up the hill, it trips the sensor. So once it's tripped the sensor, you have a UPS system and a bunch of capacitors. Those capacitors and the UPS charge up the EMP, and you can get, the ones you use for hard drives. If you put it under the cobblestones one night, you put it under there, just jack the hell out of that thing. And then it's problem solved.
No, because now you got a car blocking the road.
Well, then it becomes an obstacle. Then it becomes fun. Now you got an obstacle course. That's twice as much fun.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then where you put it, you also then under the cobblestone have to put a ramp that goes like this, so you can right up and over the.
Now you're talking.
Right. I like that idea.
I'm thinking here, engineering.
So the EMP dials and the capacitors fire the ramp. No, the big things.
No, and then after you launch over it, the pneumatic pistons underneath it eject up, then tossing it off the side of the mountain.
Toss the cars out of you. Well, because they are in the way at that point. You are right. So out of the way. Very, very quickly, word will get around that just don't go anywhere near that street. It's much simpler that way.
I don't know. This is a nice neighborhood. I think we kind of went a little too far, maybe.
They'll learn. They'll learn to find different ways in.
There's no other way in.
Well, that's their problem.
You have to rappel.
Yeah.
Either that or it's a toll. It becomes a toll road. So they actually either that, or you could have a tannoy system. So as they come around the corner, actually, there's the other way of doing it. They come around the corner. You actually put a sensor there. This is the sensible version. As they come around the corner, you just put a sensor there with a reflector on it, and up the top where you are, you have green or red. Done. That's probably the most neighborhood friendly version.
I could try.
That's a freaking Arduino and an R. I mean, that's easy stuff. That'd be fun because you could do that over wireless or over RF or something. That wouldn't take much to do it.
I'll run it past wireless.
Yeah, that'd be totally cool. That'd be friendly at least.
We were thinking about doing a series of like Hacker House. Like once a quarter, invite 6-7 hacker friends and just
you could have so much fun because you could basically have parts of the house being their completely own isolated networks, and you could build out like an IoT room, you could build out an industrial room. Holy shit, you could have so much fun. You could have the room of okay, here's something you might want to do in all semi-seriousness. If you're doing a bunch of work in there, get yourself a Faraday cage in one of them. Build out a Faraday cage. Seriously.
I've already got a place where it's going to go. The storage room, Ryan?
Yeah.
That's perfect place for that.
That is a perfect place for that.
Yeah, and then I'm making a lot of friends down here, man.
You talking about the one that's like elevated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got lots of I'm making lots of Mexican friends. I bet you I can make some friends with some government officials and they let us play with some government things.
That is never a bad thing.
Right?
Government stuff is always good. Well, depends actually.
Well, the thing down here in Mexico is everything's got a price, and the price is cheaper than it is back home. So, like I was talking to my buddy, so one of my friends that I made a really good friend with is Sergio. Ryan, did you meet Sergio?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
He was our mesero, our waiter here.
I remember a different name.
Okay.
Was he there?
Had somebody else.
I think we had somebody else. Yeah, because didn't the guy we have get let go? Or
he was doing some shady shit. Yeah. But Sergio is an amazing human being. You love him because now when we come here, he like, pulls rank and comes here because we become friends and shit. Where's I going with this? Oh, can't remember. I don't know, but he's got strings.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got strings.
I like it.
He knows people. Everybody knows Serge too. That's the thing too about down here. I don't understand it. Everybody knows everybody. Like I was telling Sergio about Gustavo, my dive instructor, and it's like I went to high school with him. What the fuck, really? He lives. Wow. And then Nicholas, I invited one of the guys down on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really cool dude on the beach, does whatever beach people do. And we became friends because he went out of his way to help me. Took me around, showed me shit. I didn't even know him, didn't ask for money. So I was like, I like you. And so I gave him money. And then I said, we're going to become friends. I can feel it, and then, saw each other the next couple of times I came down. And so I invited him up here for dinner. Him, his wife, and he adopted his girl at 8 months, and she's like 13 now. And so the three of them came up, had dinner with us. It was my family. Yeah, it was my family that trip. And they'd never been up here, never seen this view.
How come? Just people.
It's his whole life.
Got it.
I'm like you're coming up here more. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but now he gets a little. Now he's a little needy. Like I want to be your friend and everything, but like you can't call him all the time, man. Because as soon as I got here Sunday, I got a message from him on WhatsApp. Are you here? Are you in Miss Malloy? I'm like, how the fuck do you know I'm here? Watching my house.
He's got the sensor on the road. Yeah.
Yep. So Ringo inbound.
Watching my house. And so you know how on WhatsApp it shows you that you got the read receipts, right?
Yep.
And so I saw his message. I doing all kinds of other stuff, and I figured I'd go down there and see him later and everything. Well, I ran into him yesterday because I was diving from our boat was leaving from the beach, and he's like, how come you didn't reply to my message? I'm like, I don't know. Did I see it? He goes, yeah, you saw it.
You can turn off read receipts.
Well, I know, but I didn't, obviously. So, and then it's like I was like, Nicholas, have you ever seen Fatal Attraction?
Oh no, boiling the bunny. Yay.
Yeah. And he said, no. And I go watch that.
Oh, yeah. It can get a little
I want to
bit
be your
messy.
friend, but I don't want you like hounding me like this. It's weird. It's weird. Don't make an excuse for it.
No, yeah.
I want to be your friend, but there's a boundary to all your friends.
Well, remember, different people have different ways of looking at friendship. That'd be my only caveat I'll put on this one. To him, that might just mean he can just wander around and hang out and do what just that kind of stuff. If that makes sense.
Watch my house every single day when the lights go on. Hey, are you in Miss Malaya?
Yeah, I've known people like that. Yeah, it's hey, you want to go hang out now? I just woke up. Give me a freaking minute,
Right. I told him I would, we'd hang out. So now I'm here forever.
I mean, is that a real thing? Are you stuck there for a while now?
Yeah. Yeah. So, as soon as I cross the border, that starts the clock ticking on your temporary resident visa application. And so the person out, so I had an appointment on Tuesday, and the appointment that I got on Tuesday was a substitution, like somebody canceled, so they put me in that spot. So then Tuesday, I'd make the taxi ride. It's like a 45-minute taxi ride to the immigration office to go to my appointment. I walk up there and they're like, yeah, I got bad news. I'm like, probably. I mean, if anybody's gonna have bad fucking news, it's me. What is it? They're like, well, we don't take cancellations anymore. Mexico City stopped that now.
You're right, bro.
Just stop it. You just stop it for me. It's like, so what are my options? She goes, well, you can go home, but you have to start the whole process over. But you can't go home.
Shit.
So when's my next appointment? You know, when's the next time I can get in? I said February 4th.
Hence the challenge.
Yeah. And then it takes 2 weeks ish to process. So that puts me at February 18th, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, there's worse places to be. The only thing that sucks, honestly, is I miss my dad.
Yeah.
I actually had a bad dream.
What's the quarantine laws down there? Is it 6 months?
No, there's none for dogs.
Are you serious?
Serious. All you need is they kind of call it, you know, a vet passport, but really it's just a letter from your vet saying that she's up to date with all her shots and she's healthy.
And that's it. That's pretty cool. I wonder if it's because it's the same landmass.
It might be, yeah.
I mean, that might
but
be.
It's expensive as hell to get them down here. I mean, not expensive as hell. It's $300, $400 probably.
That's not too bad. I mean, it's
not outrageous, but it's not, $20.
Yeah.
Or 10 or whatever.
And I don't want to put her through the stress, so I don't want to bring her down here because I miss her.
Right.
So leave her there until we get down here permanently.
Just closing down some stuff.
There you go.
God.
Crispy hacking.
Crispy hacking. Well, somebody just hit me up. That phone call I got that I thought was a spam phone call was actually somebody I generally know. A good individual, actually, a very good individual. And apparently they must be setting something up. He's like, hey, can you tell me what you see from here? So I told him what I saw, and then I just went in through the back end of the system and showed them the forbidden end of the Raspberry Pi that they have on the internet.
Nice.
So, this is what it is. He, comes up with this nice fun website. And I'm like, reverse DNS lookup on this thing, find out what the IP address is. It's a Roadrunner address. Go into the Roadrunner address, find the Raspberry Pi, go into the Raspberry Pi. Okay, game over. And that was from that phone call. So, yeah, I just sent that to him and said, that's what I find. You probably want to lock it down a bit better.
Be a good idea.
Yeah.
We typically don't want to make it quite that easy.
No. So yeah, we're going to look at. I mean, I'm just done. A nice individual, actually, really nice individual. But yeah, poor guy probably didn't realize what I was up to. All right, so I've just shut down my various things, and now I'm trying to. Oh, okay. Gosh, help and damn in hell for Zencaster. I had to use. No, I had to use Zencaster today. I had to go on a webinar. Joseph Carlson over in Estonia, absolutely amazing guy. Likes it. You guys know Joseph or not?
Well,
I wouldn't say I know him. I know of.
Totally awesome guy. Did a webinar podcasty thing with him today. Not he, I'm not blaming him, but the org runs Zencaster. So I'm like, 5 minutes to go time. I get on, I'm on my machine and I fire up, Opera that I've got running and I log into this thing and it's like, hi, your browser's unsupported. Now, normally you can turn around and do this because it's Opera that's kind of Chrome-ish, but no. You get Chrome, Brave, or whatever the new version of Exploder is called, Edge, or whatever the fucking Meta Edge, or whatever the stupid thing's called. So I'm like, all right, I'll go Brave because, Brave's nice. Well, Brave breaks my computer. And so my computer goes, "Blah." Now we're at 5 past the hour. I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll download proper Chrome. Chrome goes, "Hi, let me introduce you to my world." And I'm like, fuck off. And now I'm still unpicking bits of Chrome from my computer.
There you go. You should just use somebody else's computer.
I mean, that's the easiest way.
Don't. Oh, here's the problem. I couldn't even use my iPad.
Chances are the one that's really, really easy to break into is running that fucking IE, whatever the hell Microsoft.
Yeah, it's got the browser you need.
Thing.
What is it called now? Is it Edge? Is it Edge or Explode? It's something weird. Anybody know what the hell the new Microsoft one's called?
It's called Edge.
Is it really?
I thought it was something like that, isn't it? I think. Do you use it? Please don't tell me you use it. I mean, you're already bad enough to use a freaking Android, for God's sakes. But an Android and Edge, we're going to have a serious...
I've used a Microsoft browser since, I don't know, 18, 15.
I mean, I know I'm backwards on a lot of this stuff, but I am at least partially civilized. Edge. Look, I have to admit, I was a early adopter of Silverlight.
Ooh, ow, no, ow.
I do have Edge running on a couple of VMs, but not on my fucking machines.
That isn't something you want to admit. I mean, that will be held against you forever.
Silverlight. Did anybody ever actually figure out what the fuck Silverlight did?
Tried to mimic Java very poorly and failed at it miserably, and then
exactly. So what did it actually do? It didn't actually do anything.
It was supposed to be part of the whole. This was when Azure was kind of being envisioned, and so Silverlight was supposed to be.
Isn't it still being envisioned?
Well, nobody can tell me how it works, but it was
including Microsoft.
Well, okay, so that ties us into tonight's topic. So Silverlight was Microsoft's attempt to use proprietary libraries that were built on the back of open source libraries, something we've become very, very accustomed to, right? So I would argue today, and I'm going to make the stat up because I don't know where the stat is, but probably the better part of 80% of software in the market space today has some type of open source component. Either directly or as a result. Oh, okay. Well,
95%. I'll go 95%.
And I believe it, right?
Yeah.
Because what we did is, the idea, if you guys remember the history of programming, we got to a point where we got to this concept of classes and reusability and compartmentalization and componentization. And open source essentially spawned out of at least the big movement, not its original creation, but kind of a big move to open source, if you will, spawned out of that development methodology. The ability to do that, to just call a class, call a function. I don't need to write all the code myself. I can just grab the bits and pieces. Well, we keep doing this and embedding these things into mission critical systems. So part of what prompted this was I was doing a little bit of research, if you will, into like GitHub poisoning.
Right? That's fun. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, what I kind of figured out was most of the companies today that have open source implemented also have auto refresh and auto update to the Git repository enabled because of the CI/CD. A lot of the CI/CD processes now have all that automation baked in. And then I think it was last week, and I'll have to dig up the story, but last week, some guy who had wrote an open source library that was aggressively used by a lot of different software decided to delete his GitHub. And when it auto updated, it broke all the software. Well, thank goodness he wasn't malicious, because he could have easily infected a payload. Because clearly they didn't have change control in place if it blew up their software.
But along those same lines, we've seen multiple times where a new maintainer of the code, right, say I don't want to maintain the code anymore.
Yep.
But I also you can't just die. So you hand it off to somebody else. Well, that somebody else, it's really hard to vet them. They insert your code, right? What was that credit card app that was the big one? You know, that they did that. So I mean, that shit happens too. You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember what the hell the name.
Wasn't that how they got the Swift? Wasn't that how they got into Swift? Was leveraging an open source component?
I wouldn't be surprised because it, like most enterprise apps, I don't know, anything with any, complexity is calling multiple open source libraries, like sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands.
Yeah.
So the only way you can keep those things up to date is to automate. And so I don't know how the hell you'd stop shitty code from.
Oh, easy. No, you absolutely can. You can auto update, but you can also auto security check. You can also auto scan for deviance.
But how hard would it be? How hard would it be to get past that? Because you know that the attackers are also using the same engines to test their code before they're sending the code.
Yeah. And the problem is okay, so here's the other problem.
Well, what about flagging it for review? What about when
because there'll be too much to review. Here's the thing.
Let's change. Yeah. Well,
no, I'll give you another instance that I've seen in the wild very effectively. Why am I, when you're calling 100 different pieces of open code or even 10, why the hell would I put my payload in one of them? Why wouldn't I put it in 5 or 6 or 7? And then when you've gone through each one of those on the back end, guess what it does?
Yeah.
You
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. You do a reassembly on the backside. But
if I was gonna do it, don't get me ideas. It's not novel. I mean, I would put hooks in a few releases prior to that would require the update that's coming in the code that's coming.
Yeah.
So that if you didn't download my update, it'd break your app anyway. So you can piecemeal this shit together so that your scan engine, because it won't be able to put it into context. It never does.
Right.
So you got your malicious code spread out maybe over 5, 6, 7 updates.
And you piecemeal it in, you put pieces in at a time, which is going to bypass every single engine.
But wait. All right. I agree. Now, a handful like us, think like that.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the average attacker. The average attacker isn't going to piecemeal, right? They're gonna, dude, 9-year-old kid, the news article of the week, 9-year-old kid busted for DDoSing. I guarantee you that was not sophisticated. I guarantee you he didn't, he used one of the services readily available.
20, 30, 40 bucks and yeah.
Was he trying to do a Windows update?
Well, that's different. That's when you DDoS yourself.
Right.
I did a post the other day talking about that kind of stuff. And I mean, the results should come out later on, but I mean, it's ridiculous how cheap it is to get access these days. It's just stupid. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I did a lot of it. But
$5.
10. It's actually, well,
I mean, up to 10 now.
It's 10.
It was 5 for a while. It might have been a scam service, but I saw some. Yeah,
no, this was $10. I got legit creds for a bunch of places. No, this was, and there are other ones that are charging several hundred. I'm like, my God, you're scamming scammers. I'm like, it's terrible. Back to your thing though. So this is where it gets interesting because perfect example, and this is why I don't like vendors to some degree, is Ryan, you crow from the top of the towers going, hey, I just sold Evan. I don't know. Let's see. How about SolarWinds maybe? I just sold him that. And then so I now take SolarWinds and I decompile the shit out of it as much as I can. I know this is your code. I know these are all the libraries that you might have and you're going to have and you're going to use. And now I'm going to go crawling. And again, I'm not putting it all in one place and I'm not going to do it all at the same time. It's the long game.
Well, it reminds me of, one of the guys that I referred you to this week, Ryan, we've been talking for a while, and this is a really, really good security company, right? Really, really good product. And, they were calling me to get some, advice and whatever, and then to integrate in the Security Studio. And they were frustrated by their inability to sell their shit and whatever. And I said, it's because you're trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Why don't you do one thing well with your software and just leave it at that? Because that's what everybody, because you can't like have software and not do a new feature release every quarter or every, a couple times a year, or because that's how you make money. If I just give you a perfect piece of software that does what it's supposed to do perfectly well, we're done. There's no more money from you. So I'm incented. Well, but look at this new feature. Now you've got this new reporting thing and you've got this. Well, every time they do that shit, it makes their code more and more and more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to the point where no matter what, you cannot possibly secure this code.
I hear that and I believe that on one hand, but on the other hand, if one is to follow, I understand. So you can't fix legacy, right? Let's just in this argument say legacy is unfixable. But if you do secure by design, you absolutely can write code that is visible to know what's going on, that you would be able to detect deviances and variances in the variables and things being manipulated out of cycle.
That exists. Versec does it. So I've consulted to them a couple of years ago to help them put some stuff together, and it profiles. And it profiles exactly how, an XE, DLL, whatever runs. And then when you deviate from that, including memory, address, blocks, the whole lot, it goes, motherfucker, somebody needs to pay attention to this. Actually works really, really well.
That's what I'm saying. And so if during the coding phase, we start putting beacons and hooks and things that make it easier to gain that insight, right? You can design a class that is secure. You can design a class that is transparent to any variance in its security. We don't do that because it is an expensive proposition. We don't do that because now I don't get the feature out in 2 days, I get it out in 4 days. But
right, and so that's part of the problem. But that's part of the problem. But it also would require me to do all the development in-house, and nobody anywhere does it.
Can do that. No, I know.
No, they can, but they don't.
Wow.
Because we remember the days when that's the way software development was done. We didn't share code.
Right.
Code was intellectual property. Yeah, I wrote this thing, and this thing does really cool things, and sorry, it's my thing. But then, all the shareability stuff, now I'm running, it's almost like vendor risk management for software.
Yeah, but again, so here's the thing. Sorry, go on.
Groups. No, you go ahead, man.
Here's the thing on that. I think we could do it. Sorry, Rachel's. I'm picking at stuff. I don't know what's just looking out for stuff. Rach, here's the thing. I mean, to Ryan's point, we could do it, but we would have to go back and relearn. We would have to go back and go, hey, here's what you're doing. Here's how you make it visible. Here's what you're doing. Here's how you report it. So you're going back and building basically a coding framework, and you just want one. We're not going to go play silly fuckers and Ryan comes up with one and I come up with one and Evan comes up with one and Rachel comes up with one and fucking Matt comes. No, bollocks to that. But that means we have to, and by the way, that's going to have to be relatively seamless around every single one of those damn Perl, Python, Ruby, Drupal, every single motherfucking back end and front end.
It's never going to happen.
Oh,
no, it's a dream state, right?
Right.
I get it. I mean, but that's the difference between possible and practical. It is absolutely possible.
Mm-hmm.
It is impractical. I do think we can do a lot better in our code reviews and change management. I think we can do better in secure coding practices that, it doesn't have to be nirvana, but we can make it just a little bit harder. And yes, but we also have to acknowledge that a motivated adversary, you ain't stopping anyhow.
No, you never will. I mean,
right?
And that's
back to risk management. What am I really trying to protect against? I'm trying to protect against shit like Log4j. I'm trying to protect against stuff that's so easy to exploit.
That's that.
None of the controls I have in place today can catch it because it's so flipping easy to exploit.
It's there. It's already there. Mark Miller, good friend of ours. You know him from like DevSecOps, All Day DevOps, and everything else. Mark's amazing. He used to work for Sonatype. So I know we're talking about companies now. He worked for Sonatype. Sonatype does that. Cernotype looks not just at your code and all the open libraries, but then goes out and does trusts and validations and analysis. It gives you on every single fucking product that you have. It will give you here's the shit you got. That's
Can anybody afford it?
Well, now there's a question, the conversation that we can have. Let's talk about our payment plan that we would like to put in place for you.
Yeah, I mean,
well, remember in the early days when we first started using reusable code, we would use the reusable code not as is. We would use the reusable code and modify it for ourselves.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yep.
So then we would actually have to
modify.
read. We would actually have to read all the code, and it would become my code. So if I wanted updates to my code, I would update my code. I wasn't, relying on somebody else's repository.
Right. No, because what you wanted was the base function of the functionality, right? So somebody had figured, well, and keep in mind too, when we were using reusable code, it was for stuff like vector graphics. Whoa, that's new, right?
That's a lot of math.
Yeah, I don't want to have to build my own
map. I don't want to build that shit.
Yeah, I don't want to write my own Bayesian filter. Fuck that. Here, I'll just plug into this one.
You know what I want to see, which I haven't yet seen, and I'm going to give somebody an idea, and I'm actually okay with that. I want to see somebody attack graphics, font files. I want somebody to go after fonts. How often do we download, upload, and use? There's
been attacks against fonts.
I haven't seen many. I've seen
not many, and it's been a while. But I've been fucked with some fonts before.
Yeah, I haven't messed with fonts.
I was asking for it.
I haven't messed with that. I mean, that was such much fun. I mean, you want to talk about shared files and all that kind of shenanigans and all over the place? Those would be fun attack vectors, but nobody messes with fonts. Everybody fucks around with bloody... No, get a fucking font. Somebody fuck around with Times New Roman for me.
Yeah, there was a few, I don't know, it seems like for a little while there, it was pretty popular.
There was a whole Wingdings one. I remember there was a Wingdings. There was like somebody built a Wingdings. Like this was back in the early days of viruses when they were done for fun. I know somebody built one that just changed everything around for Wingdings. You downloaded one and it just went to hell in a handbasket for that. But that was about the only one I remember.
Well, there's the tiny font where they're using micro fonts to do email compromise.
Oh God, that was years ago.
Yeah, well, still very effective.
Oh gosh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that one. Okay, you're right. I forgot about that one.
And I just looked into this. So as of this is from last year, but it looks like they were passing the NLP filters. So they're getting past the NLP.
Ow! We protect you, yeah, motherfuckers. Oh, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What do we do, Ryan? You're the one that brought this up. Solve the problem for us.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I can do all that, but I do have some ideas of some small things, simple things that we could do, that we do, right? That we are implementing within our own development practices. And it's, the number one thing that every organization can get better at is destructive, unintended use case testing. This is where we're falling down on catching the low-hanging fruit. It's not going to stop the motivated adversary. Chris Roberts is still going to screw you over, and your system
fuzzing yourself.
Well, right.
Do you remember the early days, it was leaning on the keyboard. I mean, that was my first introduction to that shit. I'm like, hey, this works. And I kid you, I mean, it was an IBM thing. And somebody just came along and went, and it went, and I'm like, didn't plan for that. And he's like, off you go again.
I've heard a similar story about a cat walking across somebody's keyboard, and they had that. I can't remember who that was, but that was years ago.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this is pre me coming to the US.
Cats
I remember this stuff.
Emails.
Yeah, that was pre-US stuff. So that was I was building device libraries and drivers for OS2 for certain applications. Yeah, actually, early days of what we're doing now. You didn't have open source, but you downloaded the driver and the library from somebody, and just so happened that we knew what somebody's hardware was and we knew the country it was being used in. So we built the driver and we replaced the existing driver, and it was nice. It's a good thing to do. And we were nice. We gave you a driver. It is what it is.
The crazy thing about this attack vector though, Ryan, is I think there's a critical mass. There's got to be a point where it just gets too fucking complex, too many fucking places, too many libraries, too many exposures, too many everythings where it just collapses.
So there is a bit of thinking that I've kind of been seeing little blips on the radar, if you will, that we are nearing that critical mass, that it is a burn down and start over is kind of the only way, because we've spiderwebbed. We've talked about it on the show before. There is no singular human within the largest software company on the planet who knows how any one of the products works, soup to nuts, let alone how they work together.
Microsoft, no.
What I mean, right? So part of it is, I think we need to start thinking more critically about what it is that we're building, increase our QA, start coding secure by design, because every day, I don't know now I should Google this. How many lines of code do you think it wrote, new lines of code are wrote every day, or new, lines of code introduced?
Ooh, good question. Don't know. I actually have no clue.
I have no idea. But according to Google, lines of code per hour, average programmer is doing 20 lines of code an hour. Good programmer writes 100 lines of code an hour. So.
Oh, hang on. I thought you meant in the world. I thought you meant.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How many lines of code per?
Just how many lines of how much new code is written globally?
20 lines of code in an hour.
Well,
you're writing code with your pinky.
Assembler or assembly.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Motherfuckers.
Well, so me, I'm a big accountability freak. So let's say I decide, you know what, Ryan, you're right. I'm going to be a good corporate citizen, and we're going to start writing code the right way. We're going to go through all the proper testing, everything else, and we're going to sacrifice profits for that. My competition just eat me for lunch.
Again, back to practicality.
Well, but there's a critical mass. So unless you want to hit that critical mass, something's got to happen. Or let's say you do hit critical mass, right? And shit just goes haywire everywhere. We're gonna be forced to rebuild then.
Ooh, I got your answer for lines of code written on an annual basis.
All right, what you got?
92,700,000,000
a day.
No, a year. So you can divide that by 360, obviously, or 360, whatever. Yeah, 92.7 billion lines of code per year.
It's a leap year.
As a community, software engineers are producing about 93 billion lines of code a year. 13 lines of code per person on this planet.
It's not a leap year.
That's a lot of code.
That's a lot of code.
So, I think, well, something's got to give, right? And to your point, Evan, I think there is a critical mass coming. We may already be partway into it. Stuff's getting crazy.
So 93 billion lines of code a year. And what's the average? Let's say, 10 errors per 1,000 lines of code?
Yeah.
10 per KLOC?
Just trying to think what it is. There is an actual official number. I can't remember. It is, I want to say, I think you're right, 10 per 1,000. Yeah, hang on a second. Let me just double check it. Because I've used those stats a number of times. You look at cars. Cars are a fucking nightmare. We can talk about that in a second. Let's figure out this one.
50.
That was it. Per 1,000 lines? Yeah.
15 to 50 per 1,000.
Yeah.
And I know the really tight development shops like an Apple, it's got it down to about 2. They really do have a tight.
No, but then that's balanced by Muppets learning. Yeah, so what do I say? 93, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So divided by 1, 2, 3, times by 15. Let's just do low end. divided by 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equals 1.395 billion errors introduced every single year into our environments. Yay!
I need an infographic. You should throw that math in the chat. I need to,
my
make
gosh.
an infographic out of this.
So yeah, somebody needs to. All right, I'll while you talk for a second, I'll do this.
So, okay, so this is why I said open source or open source, right? Because really we're getting to a point now where the vulnerability is it's just so much, and there's so many things. So is it, go into a crisis mode every 3.5 weeks when the next thing comes out? Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the cycles are getting shorter.
Well, not just that, but if you look at the number of vulnerabilities that are actually announced every week, month, whatever, it's minuscule compared to the number of vulnerabilities that actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about just, using the math, if there are that many errors that many errors introduced in code globally, some of that code gets released commercially, some of it goes into open source, some of that is just, a student learning how to code something.
Right.
But there's a large number of errors that go into these codes. And an error many times is a vulnerability, right? Almost all the time it's a vulnerability. It's either vulnerability that an attacker can, take advantage of, or it's just a miscalculation, something fucked up in the code. But that's a lot of, if we were even sniffing at the right tree, we would see probably 10 to 50 times the number of vulnerabilities announced than what we do.
Well, part of that is our disclosure rules, right? And I would venture to guess probably 30% of the spookiest stuff, and we'll watch Chris's face here in a second. 30% of the spookiest stuff is currently held with some level of classification as being vital to national security. So there's incentive to not disclose. There is encouragement, which JCDC was supposed to fix that, so that we went from cloak and dagger, leave a hole.
That shit.
Here's what JCDC. Let me explain to you exactly what, and this remains between the three of us and everybody that's listening. So here's what happens.
Has anybody else revoked from anything?
Oh, hell yeah. Here's what happens. So agency A knocks on the door of Ryan. Ryan, you're running Microsoft. Evan, you're running Cisco. So agency A knocks on your door and goes, hello, we found a vulnerability in your software. And they're like, oh, motherfuckers. But we need it to remain where it is for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. We're telling you to give you awareness. You can formulate a fix, but you're not allowed to use it. Thanks. Goodbye. That's what happens.
So take the 3 letters places into account.
Yep.
Take the ones that are known by vendors that they just choose not to disclose, and take the ones that have been found by attackers and have been disclosed. Take the ones that have been found by attackers and have not been disclosed. You take all of them, bound them all up into whatever bucket. I would still just gut feel maybe 5, maybe 10% of all the vulnerabilities that were introduced into the code have actually been found.
Less than that. You got 1.3 billion errors every single year. Karen, when was this produced? This was 2020. So let's just leave it where it is. Let's just still say that same number. So this was 2020. So between 2020, 21. So in the last 2 years, we've had 2.8 billion errors have been introduced into code that is out there in the wild. Now, to Ryan's point, it could be school code, it could be whatever, but it could also be IoT systems, industrial, blah, 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 blah. 2.8 billion. The new EQS Mercedes has what, 100, 150, 200 million lines of code.
And stack those
system.
And stack those 2.8 billion errors on top of the 2.5 billion from last year, on top of the, you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, it gets crazy. So I would counter and say, I don't even think I would have to hazard a guess. We're not even at a full percentage. I think we're fractal percentages of what we know of what we know that we could possibly do to execute against a specific target.
Yeah, I would think that's probably, I mean, I wouldn't argue against it.
Yeah.
And so let's make some AI.
Oh shit. It's gonna work fine, no problem. Give it the missiles, it'll all be okay. We're fucked, aren't we? We're absolutely fucked.
You guys want to come hang out in Mexico? I got a place.
You'll still be there when I get there. So
oh my gosh, I didn't. Yeah, that's self-repair. So this is where we get into the Utopia solution. So this is where I look at things. AI actually is an interesting way of looking at it. If you could build a self-aware, self-healing system, you would be able to actually deal with a chunk of this. If it was able to self-reflect, if it was able to
errors, you'd have errors in the code for the self-healing system.
Absolutely, but I mean, and this is where it's like, how many decimal points do you go? The self-aware system has a self-aware self-repair, and the self-repair has a self-repair system watching the self-repair. I mean, it's not just who watches the watchers, but who's watching the watchers that are watching the watchers.
My record is 6. My record is 6, and I might add using Windows Task Scheduler and BAT files.
God, I love batch files. We were talking about that the other day on a
an INI file and an INI file.
It was easy to
write to the INI, and then you'd read from the INI. And if it was
at least
missing,
that shit was easy to troubleshoot, right?
It was, because it was all very, very simple.
And that's one of the things I think, this, especially to this generation, we've talked about it on the shit show before, how we need to share more. This generation needs to figure out ways to share more of the wisdom, because we do remember when things were simpler. We do remember when code was all written in the same building.
Yeah.
The same company, the same building. They were all sitting next to each other. There was such good collaboration. And then, and we get to where we're at now. We just keep making things more and more fucking complex. And you can't, I mean, I do think we're past critical mass too, by the way. You can't get this back. It's gone. It was gone.
I mean, even if today, let's say today we said, we can't say no new code, because we would actually kill people. But if we said today, here are the best practices that you must, have, need, will use, go forward. Exactly to your point, we're sitting on goodness knows how many billions of lines of code with goodness knows how many millions or billions of issues, errors, and challenges.
If I were king of the world, I'd start holding software development companies accountable. If you write code and somebody gets injured by your code, and make it painful enough that it's going to outweigh the profits you would have made, by getting it out that quarter.
Only if you give them the tools to succeed. It just goes, I'm watching Matt go, well, I support it. I don't understand it.
They have the tools. They got the fucking tools. You've got the processes. There are frameworks. There are things that you can follow to put out safe.
Yeah, it's priorities. It's financial. It's all of the pressures that we feel to get shit out of the door, and just we'll figure it out afterwards. And it's the same damn thing they run through. I'm going to do it live because I can't be asked to type anymore at the moment. I've just broken into another fucking Arduino. Hey, I put this one up. No, you didn't. It's gone.
My hands are here, NSA.
Yeah, mine are. Yeah. There are no Arduinos on the space station, but there are.
They're live hands. These are not.
All right. So I'll address Matt. While I support DevSecOps, I don't understand why it needs to have some fancy word. Well, it does, because we can't fucking get along with each other as it is. So you know what? And I'm not being an arse, and I don't mean to be grumpy about this, but
that's true.
But the reason we do have DevSecOps is the word collaboration it falls on fucking deaf ears. So we actually put 3 teams together because you all can't fucking work together as it is. We don't want to put networking in there because, well, nobody likes them, and then everybody knows that.
Hey, what the fuck, man?
And everybody knows Everybody knows the developer smell, and so I'm not developer.
Yes, they
Everybody knows
do.
the DBA smell, and
they
so
do.
we don't put them in there. So we're going to make DevSecOps.
Hey, you're talking about my tribes now.
So we do DevSecOps, and that's it. The problem is if we actually all got along, we'd still be called fucking information technology.
Okay, but you know damn well where this comes from, and
I
this is
do.
another one of hey, over the wall it goes. You didn't deploy it right. You didn't build it right.
Yeah.
Lack of accountability.
You didn't build it right.
And that's right. And that's why we have DevSecOps. And that's
And
why
then we all turned and looked at each other and went, it's the fucking network.
Yeah.
And then I would show you.
And then Evan
What do you
shows up
see here?
and he's like, ain't my shit, it's your shit.
Well, that's the problem. Everyone will be like, it ain't my shit, it's the WAF. And the WAF folks will be like, well, ain't our fucking shit. It's the developers can't code this properly and they can't do that. And developers were like, well, you didn't tell us. And we all know. We
And then
all
you finally
know.
get the one guy on the phone and he'd be dead silent and you'd hear tick, 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 click, click. Try it now.
Try it now.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it would work. And you'd go, what did you do? And they'd go, nothing.
Yeah, motherfuckers.
Right.
How many times?
But you're right, man. Even within that team, I mean, I've said this so many times, I sound like a broken record, but that network was my fucking network.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that goes over that network is my responsibility to make sure it gets from point A to point B.
But it isn't your network anymore because Azure's got some and everybody else has got some and Google's got some and the cloud's got some and the development team have contracted with Kubernetes to give them some and the business has decided it's
that's what happened. We made it so complex. And I think the reason why we allowed this to happen was I think we went so damn fast that I don't want to be accountable for this anymore. I want Google to be accountable for it. I want somebody else to be accountable because I don't even understand what the fuck I'm working with anyway.
We went at the speed, I don't know if you'd call it, we went at the speed of innovation, but we went at business speed without thinking and without us questioning, us being the royal us, anybody in IT, honestly, without actually really questioning. And the problem is when we did question, we questioned in a very negative way. It was always, oh, you want to do BYOD? No fucking way. Well, it's going to happen anyway because the boss has fucking just got one and you're not going to tell him no, unfortunately.
I'm
a capitalist, but I don't think it's speed of innovation, it's the speed of profit.
No, there we go. No, you're right. That's a good way of looking at it.
The cost of our convenience has caused us calamity.
Well, and here, if I know that
money.
like a drug dealer, and we've heard people say this before, like there's only two places that call their customers users.
Mm-hmm.
It's IT, or and software technology, and drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's the way I play it. Right. I know that you want this thing, and I know that if I give you this thing, Ryan, regardless of whether it's good for you, I know you're going to give me money for it, and I want your damn money. So I'm going to give you this thing, and this thing you might die because you took my thing. Well, that's your fucking problem, not mine. Thank you for your money.
The IT industry very much operates like the drug industry, like the illicit drug trade.
Remember my talk up in Wisconsin?
Well, they be cutting software, right? So the drug traffickers cut the drugs with shoddy product.
That's what,
software companies cut the software with shoddy
that's what we need.
code.
We need a graphic, Chris, for one of our shit show shirts or something, with the dude, plugging his nose with with his dollar bill rolled up, sniffing, software.
Ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Got to get his fix.
That's gotta happen. That's where's our
spreadsheet?
I'm getting the spreadsheet. Security shits those spreadsheets up here. It's Evan has gone on top things to put on.
Yep. I like it. Why?
We need the don't do drugs. It's like the InfoSec.
We need don't do software.
Don't do
software responsibly.
Well, one of the things I love about down here too, man, is I do get a chance to disconnect because a lot of times, even when I do connect with shitty internet down here and stuff like that, but plus you're busy doing like life shit. It's so refreshing to and we've talked about this before too, disconnecting.
Super important.
99% of the software that I use on a daily basis, I don't fucking need. Unless I'm working. And then even then there's, a half dozen applications on this laptop that I don't need. But for other, whatever reason we have it. But I don't need a TV that does half the shit it does. I don't need a refrigerator that orders milk for me when it's getting low on milk. I can get off my ass and get my own milk. No wonder we've got an obesity problem in this fucking country.
I mean, there's some truth in that.
Well, okay, so devil's advocate time for a second. Let me play devil's advocate. We've made ourselves so busy that we don't have time to go shopping. We don't make time for families. We don't make time for shopping. We don't make time for ourselves. We've let tech take over, so we spend so much time doing it. So if I'm out of work all day and I'm on the way home and my tech tells me to stop by the Whole Foods to go pick up a pint of milk, I see that as a benefit.
Throw your phone off.
But you see what I mean.
Throw your phone away and tell me how much time you get back.
I was about to say,
it's
he being on TikTok.
But you know what I mean. I need my
Facebook.
It's a drug. I mean, we've basically this. I haven't got my dad. I do have my phone with me. This is a slab of good stuff. I mean, this is a slab of high quality good stuff.
Well,
and not only
study, they proved it's like heroin. They did
it's legal, and this is legal.
So, and I think, we moved at the speed of profit. So it just makes sense, right? If I have a whole population that's just dying for that next fucking update, give it to them. Is it buggy? Yeah, it's buggy. Do they care? No. It's obvious they don't care because they don't do anything about it anyway. They just got to have their next hit.
It's all about that dopamine. And that's a human thing. That's back to that analog human thing. We are creatures of seeking the dopamine. We love things that make us feel good. And your little, cyborg buddy that you keep in your hand makes you feel pretty good. You can, and the software, so you use a software today that is very helpful to you. I get alerts about how awesome your progress has been, even though my lazy ass has not been able to lock in and make any progress myself. Ooh. But one of the ways that it's the Duo. It's using Duo to learn a foreign language.
Oh yeah, shit! I'm so good at that.
And part of why you're so good at it is it absolutely feeds your addictive personality, because it is a very positive reinforcing platform. It gives you lots of booms and bings and blaps, and it's got all the sweet little sounds that trigger that good feeling. It's got the graphics. I mean, it is engineered to keep you engaged. And they're not shy. Like me, I get emails that say I've made Duo sad because I have not logged in to my account. So it says you've made Duo sad.
That's fucking that. Do you remember what were the cheer pet? No cheer pets. What were those stupid little?
Look, Ryan, you need more points.
I know.
What were those? Do you remember the Yamagotchi? The Yamagotchi.
Tamagotchis.
Tamagotchis. Yeah, do you remember those? Yeah, I don't know how many of those damn things I killed. Things were piled up. I mean, it was like Pet Cemetery. It was awesome. I'm watching the text and the conversations. I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate, actually. And it's fun. It's me, let's face it. It's like, not in the school zone. Well, I mean, that's why you have speech to text. You shouldn't be doing your phone, but you can talk to it. Now, nobody's actually told you that talking to the phone is actually almost as distracting as just looking at the stupid thing. But hey, nobody's perfect on that one. We'll give you an alternative rather than saying don't fucking use the thing.
Right.
And, the speech to text. I mean, good God. Again, go back. I remember working in specific locations, wishing that we had the ability to listen in more than just pull in signal off of a fucking light bulb and off the windows and stuff. I was wishing for that. Now we clamor for it. We teach our electronics to recognize us. I mean, it's beautiful. I love this. When I'm hunting bad peoples, I can now just put on all calls out to everything in the vicinity going, hey, tell me when somebody sounds like this walks by. It's brilliant. I love it. You want to know where you are in the house? I'm just going to listen into your fucking light bulbs. I know exactly which room you're in. and what you're doing.
Yeah, people can't get enough of it, right? They keep buying it.
Yes,
Even people who can't afford to eat
Mm-hmm.
have a fucking phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like my buddy down here, Nicholas, he's not living the high life, man. I mean, he doesn't make hardly any money at all. The $5 I gave him was a big deal. He has an iPhone 12.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you have this iPhone 12? Because
you need there we
really?
go.
You need it?
Yeah.
Don't you need some food? Well, after I text my whatever,
Yeah. No,
that's what an addict does. That's totally what an addict does.
Here's the thing. Okay, so let me take a different tact on this. It's not going to change.
Well, I think
it's not going to change.
Well, no, not without really tough decisions that are going to be
not going to be
popular.
It isn't going to change. Here's what's going to happen.
No, okay. No, listen, it can. I agree with you. It won't. But it can. And the reason why it won't is because what it's going to take is going to be really, really unpopular and everybody's going to hate you.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
Ain't going to happen, though. You know that, and I know that.
Oh, I know. That's why I think we're at critical mass and it's just going to get worse.
Here's the thing. We're not only at critical mass. If we take it away or slow it down, the entire fucking economy of how many countries goes through the floor. This isn't just a tech conversation. This is a finance. This is human. We are at a point that if I take your tech away, I have financially impacted the company, the world. Shit ain't going to happen. It's going to be more of it. We've only got 5.5 billion connected people. We got 2 billion people to connect.
Not just that, but think how many times we can connect them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of them, like in the United States, I think the average U.S. home has 11 or 12 internet-connected devices.
Oh yeah, it's we
can easily slam another 50 in there.
And we're going to. If we could actually get 5G to work properly and not take planes out of the sky, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be good. But it's crazy how many people buy shit.
For.
It's amazing how many people buy shit though. Like I'll go to. I was at a friend's house. I'm not gonna say his name because he might be listening. But went over to his house. I'm like, oh, you got some cool shit. He's like, yeah. I'm like, can I take a look at it? And none of it's fucking configured right. I mean, it's like default passwords in numerous places. Shit's not patched. But he's proud as fuck about it. It's the best thing ever.
Another reason for having a Dave is the whole logic is drop one in and off you go. Barnett, you remove the tech, you increase the demand for unskilled jobs. Yeah, good luck getting the 20 million developers to run unskilled jobs. Good luck on that one. By the way, they don't have any money to spend. You will take the economy down. End of conversation. Or you will definitely make a serious dent in it. Here's the other thing, back to the 5G, 6G thing. So if we take a look at where the goggles are, that's the goggles. So we've gone from these. Okay, so we've gone from these. And this is why Meta to me is so dangerous. You gotta send that one. Actually, hang on. Don't send it to me. I'm just gonna screenshot it. Get your bloody mouse out of the way. There we go. Thank you. Here's why something like the Oculus and the Meta side of thing is a huge concern for me, because that's actually nothing more than a gateway. It's an opening of the door. It's the same thing. It's the same thing when we had the little pages and stuff. They were nothing more than a gateway. They opened the door to us accepting the fact that we would be continually connected. We hated it. How many of us got pages and we hated the fucking thing? I shredded, I lost, I drove over, I skipped in rivers, a bunch of the damn things. I hated them. Now, can't keep me away from this fucking thing. What is it? It's a pager with intelligence. So, and now we're used to them, we accept them, and we've taken this on. You look at the Oculus goggles and the other systems out there and the whole Meta concept, That's another one of those gateways. That's going to lead us into that next level. And at which point, God, I mean, truthfully, I don't know. I got ideas where it's going to go because I'm having some fun working on some anti-ideas, but it's going to happen.
Well, I know I think we talked about it on this show too.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Here's the better part. Try go on.
You guys said you would try it. I honestly don't think I will.
Here's what gets even better, and this goes right back to what Ryan's talking about on this show.
Said, but I don't know.
98 or 99% of it's going to be written on open source code. Yay!
Oh fuck yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't that just become a thing? I mean, if I was a nation state, I would just knock GitHub off, call it done.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that would.
but like,
here's the problem though.
I guarantee you, they've thought of it. I did not introduce this idea.
Here's the thing. So let's run it through this country. If the FBI, bless their cotton socks, we'll just leave it at that. But let's just say NSA decides to knock off GitHub. Every other agency is going to be like, you motherfucker, you just took our pipeline out.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. That's the problem.
But okay.
But
what about the other side of the pond?
Same thing, same shit. I'll tell you that for nothing.
No, is it more mutually assured destruction shit? We're all just standing here pointing pistols at each other, going, "Go ahead, touch it, I dare you."
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Great, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great.
well, I mean, just think of the mind control though, too. I mean, if I've got an addict who's so addicted to my product, I can lead them wherever I want.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it seems like more so in the last few years than any time that I can remember, we seem to be living in alternate realities. Like you and I can, like me and another person can both watch the same video and come to completely different conclusions about what that video said, what that video meant. Imagine now you take that same sort of like, we've got different realities and put that into meta. Where it is actually different fucking realities.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally.
And you're spending all your fucking time there.
Yeah.
Oh man alive. And another thing I don't understand is what's so wrong with this reality? I actually like this reality.
For a lot of people, it's hard.
Well, yeah, it's hard for me too, but I like it.
I'm with you. Right. It's what the whole analog thing's about, right? Why I took the tech break, which I will be doing again. We're putting it down, doing something different. And part of that's managing that addictive factor, right? We're all susceptible to it. That's the problem.
I took Joe, go back to Joseph. We were talking to Joseph from Flyotic. He took this November or December off. Again, living in Estonia, living in Europe, they have a slightly different attitude to a lot of this. There's a conversation on here about, the whole German thing. Oh dear, have I broken down who is A. Barnett? Do we know who the hell this is? Have I broken down government? No shit. Duh. Sorry. Who the hell do you think I work for fuck's sakes?
I am not hearing anything.
Yeah, Evan doesn't want an escort when he's antique shopping.
I don't know. Not just that. I don't want people to know what I do. I'm just like, I don't do anything.
No.
Oh yeah. And by the way, whoever did that, message received. But next time, a phone call will do.
At least just leave a business card. That's always the fun way. So when you just get a business card.
What, you talking about DHS? That thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
Bless him. Oh,
DHS. And that's a circle jerk.
It is, but there's some the frustration is there are some bloody good people in there. They're really, it's probably like all fast. Oh, speaking of, I got an email in the inbox today, and it was one of those emails. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? What did I do? It was like, oh shit, what did I blow up? Because it came from a colonel in MOD police. And I'm like, oh, you see it. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what did I do now? And it was a very nice one. I'm actually going to be going out to potentially going out to Buffalo, New York in March to go help out a whole bunch of folks up there, ModPlod, and a whole bunch of the guard folks and regular folks who are responding to a bunch of the emergency stuff. So if that happens, I'll be totally cool. But yeah, when the email comes in and it's, Colonel so-and-so from MOD police, I'm like, well, who did I piss off this time?
Well, anytime you get any one of those emails, like when I got the email from DHS this morning, I was really? What did I do now? Was it Chris that did, or is it, I mean, seriously, I usually fly so far under the radar and I don't push. It's like diving, right? We were talking about diving. You dive well within my limits. I don't want to go deeper than I need to go. I want to be, I'm good. It's the same thing I do with most of the work I do. You know what I mean? You would never know I do it. I like that. I don't want to cause noise. I want to provide value without that. We've got people but we also have to people like you who do that. We all play together. We all have to have these different roles that we play. But when I got that email this morning, I was like, seriously, did I go so too far on something, or I don't know.
Well, that's where I get frustrated because I'm a known entity. I'm, for good or for bad, I will definitely poke the bear. I mean, no two ways about it. But there is never any malice behind it, should we say?
Exactly. And
yeah.
I 100% know that. I mean, you're one of the good guys. We've talked about, that definition of hacker, right? Hackers aren't bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna poke the bear. I mean, good gods. I mean, that's almost, I wouldn't say it's half the fun, but it's, if you don't, shit's not going to happen. I'm actually going to put that post out on LinkedIn, the cut post, because it's there's a few things I'm going to drop onto LinkedIn. I want people to start thinking a little bit more. Again, it's back to that thought. Again, back to the Ryan and back to the topic of this one. If I'm going onto the internet to go use code, why don't I think about it? Why don't I ask the question? Why don't I, rather than going and borrowing a library, it's kind of like an app. Actually, this is the other part. We've been conditioned. How many people outside of us, how many people, when they download an app, actually look at the developer, actually Google the developer, the location, the company, the people, the stuff they've done before? How many motherfuckers actually do that?
How many compare the MD5 hash to see that they received the file they thought they did?
Well, you have to do that because you've got that shitty fucking operating system.
Hey, you listen now up here, pal.
I don't have to compare the MD5 hash because Apple does
it. It's done. Apple takes care of me.
Oh no, they take care of you all right. They take real.
Hush up and go back to your Android corner, you Neanderthal.
Yeah, leave us alone. We're busy.
All y'all
get back to your bloody Android corner, Neanderthal.
Sorry, I muted you.
So I don't have to disclose.
You've been canceled.
Great, thanks. Good. I'm gonna go take a nap.
No. You've been uncanceled now. You're being nice again.
Oh man. Yeah, it's
but here's the thing, man. We've talked about this for years too, right? The inability for people to think critically. We become so reliant on technology to do the thinking for us. We've lost the ability to think for ourselves.
But the thing is, we told them. I mean, I got it today.
But they can't think anymore. They're a bunch of fucking sheep.
Where's that freaking? I got a spam message like we all do. I got one. Where the hell is cyber? No, it wasn't. What the hell is it? It was security briefing. Protect. Let me just the word protect. Where the hell is it?
Because I'm of the belief.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We're all sheep. Like truly, we're all sheep. You choose who your shepherd is, right? And so my shepherd might be Allah, my shepherd might be Jesus, my shepherd might be technology, my shepherd might be money, my shepherd might be whatever the fuck it is. And that's where you go, wherever it leads you. And I think so many people have just fucked up shepherds that they're chasing things. They don't even know what the fuck they're chasing. When you ask people, what's your purpose in life? They're like, what do you mean? Like, what are you fucking doing here? Well, I guess I never thought of that. Really? From somebody like me who I think I have a purpose, I don't understand that. I struggle with it.
A lot of people are on the journey, right?
To
That's
where?
a tough one. But well, but purpose is interesting. I didn't fully grasp mine until the last few years. I knew portions of it, I knew parts of it, but I didn't have the clarity that I do.
Well, so you say you're on, you say the journey to where?
Well, most people are on some type of journey to either self-discovery or happiness, or, we all go through at least that phase. If in our childhood, some of us continue it on into our adulthood, but you try to figure out who you are and where you fit and why you matter. It's kind of part of the human condition.
But it seems like before we had technology, we had more discussions like this. Like
we did.
You know what I mean?
Oh, we absolutely did, because you had to talk to people to figure out what was what. If you wanted somebody else's opinion, you couldn't get it out of the palm of your hand. You had to go and seek an opinion, which meant you had to interact with somebody, which meant you had to exercise some courtesy and some decency and some respect if you wanted to get that opinion out of them, right? And now you can just scroll and troll.
Because I would argue that even 2.5 years ago, because your journey changes, right? Your journey might change based on, fork in the road, whatever, right? But even 2.5 years ago, you were on a journey to somewhere. You weren't just wandering aimlessly.
No. Yeah, definitely. Moving towards a goal. But I'm also a person who sets goals and has things I want to accomplish. There are people that don't. There are people that just roll out of bed and go, nah. Fuck it.
Hey, we gotta behave. Gary Hayslip's just stuck his head in. So everybody on the best behavior, which means basically I need to shut the hell up and let Ryan talk. It's the easiest way of dealing with it.
Yeah, Ryan is by far the nicest guy. We'll just let him say all the words now.
Exactly. Yeah, we're done.
Hi, Gary.
So Ryan,
bye.
Ryan, say something nice about things and people and such.
I hold out hope that the work that we're doing now is going to inspire enough.
Try not to speak bullshit. I mean,
no lies.
Okay,
More bodies.
Something nice. Oh gosh, no, you put me on the spot.
Yes, Chris, we did it.
We broke him.
Finally.
That's all. It only took us 78 episodes to break him.
Something.
That's it. Yay! So that means we can pile up bodies. I got bodies.
Here you go.
Bodies in one head.
No, I got a positive. So a nice thing is open source is getting more attention than it has before. And the folks that have contributed and have these libraries that are heavily in use by these large corporations who are not paying them any kind of anything are starting to wake up and realize, hey, when I built that, I did it to contribute to the community. Not to give you a way to further victimize your customer. And so I'm going to pull my code back. I'm going to take that away from you now. Since I control that library, it's mine. I'm taking it away. So I think that's a positive, because enough of that happening will start to encourage, hopefully, some deeper questioning about the reliance on open source, and hopefully will also cause more questioning about, are we doing some code quality analysis? Are we doing, something to make it just a little bit harder, right? We're not going to stop the complexity problem. We're not going to unravel that. Maybe we burn down and start over, but we're not going to unravel it. So, but there are mitigating, right? Why do we call them mitigating controls? Because you can't eliminate the risk. There's that residual risk. So I think we have to start looking at open source as a residual risk and figure out creatively what mitigations we can practically implement that don't cripple business, that don't cripple innovation, that don't, create an environment where your competitor can eat you simply because you're trying to do the right thing.
So let's say that I'm a CEO of a company. Why do I give a shit about any of this?
We're not there.
I'm the one who's going to make that. Okay. Because, because you've mentioned some companies may be doing certain things, but I think it's pockets of companies. I think in terms of the direction of the company, why would I change anything?
Well,
I'm making good money right now.
right. So today there is no incentive.
You can. So if we come down to it, it comes down to money. So if you are the CEO of an organization, there's if you're using your internet connection is unstable, bugger off. And who did I piss off again?
My internet connection is super stable, and I'm in Mexico. Explain that.
I'm in a
You
hotel.
are actually doing pretty good. Yeah, yours is actually holding down pretty damn well. So
You're in fucking Colorado.
Yeah, which I'd say we had tornadoes, wildfires, and a foot of snow inside 36 hours? Yeah.
Disaster recovery planning, brother. Come on.
Hey, for the most part on the human and animal level, I had it sorted out. On the data level, we are just gonna.
I don't want to go there. No, forget that.
There's actually going to be a funeral pyre. I'm actually going to have a funeral pyre of 270 something hard drives so far.
I'm still sad about that, man. For
No
you,
fucking
I
shit,
know.
I'm dealing with it. It's one of those where, it is what. Anyway, back to what we were saying. CEO of a company. If you look at it from a impact study, it's a similar conversation that we have to have now around security vulnerabilities. It's data, it's integrity, it's systems, it's blah 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 blah. We haven't really had huge conversations around this. We've talked about it within DevSecOps, but I'd argue, and this is some of the conversations online, I would argue that DevSecOps isn't given the level of respect, shall we say, that it actually deserves, even inside our own community. It's kind of like, oh, that's cute. Go play in the sandbox. Go do fucking kindergarten. Go be DevSecOps. Go kumbaya. And that's a frustration, because when I have to even justify it among our own people, I feel like somehow or other it's failed. Because we're all up and down and talking about data, but guess what? The data lives somewhere, and in about 99.5% of the data that's living somewhere is accessed through something that's got a fucking open source component on it. You don't secure your door, and you don't know what the hell your door is doing, or even what your door is made of. How the hell are you going to stop me from being able to get in? You're not.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, if I'm the CEO of a company, when I am a CEO of a company,
yeah.
Why do I care? Because that's the only way you're going to change any of this.
Impact and risk.
Is you have to get me to care. And we looked at studies before that say over 50% of CEOs in the United States don't care.
Yeah, it's a risk
about security, not even about.
Oh God, no. We can't even get them to care about their own humans. I mean, I'm looking at the UK, and we'll get a little political issue on this one. But I'm looking at the UK. The UK just eased all of its restrictions on COVID. They're like, nah, fuck it, we're done. We're done with Omicron. Everything's in good shape. And we're easing all the restrictions. And so I was watching the BBC feeds, and there's like one after another CEO said, well, that's fantastic. Everybody's going to come back to the office. You don't care about the very people. I mean, that fuckwit that fired 900 of his employees on the Zoom webinar, back in charge again, less than a month later. I'm like, if you actually cared about the people, then maybe we'd be having a separate conversation. So what do you care about? You care about the money, you care about the profit, you care about going IPO, or you care about selling out to somebody. So if I can threaten any one of those four, then maybe I have a fighting chance. But the problem is, if I threaten any one of those four, now you see me as the threat, not the actual threat itself. And that's where we get into problems with researchers.
Well, one good thing about the youth who are coming up behind us is they do care a lot more about what the company's up to in addition to profits.
Yes.
Right? There is a growing movement of what is your social contribution? What is your mission?
For a time, but I'm the CEO of the company, and I will promote people who are in line with what my vision is, which is to make more fucking money.
Well,
and there'll be people that will follow you into the fires of hell. I mean, there will be absolutely people that. I mean, good God's alive. I mean, there's.
But all I'm saying is this is the reality. This is what we see.
Well, then it goes back to what I've said all along, and this is a human issue. This is a safety issue, and until we begin to address it on the same footing as every other health, life, and safety thing, where we make manufacturers adhere to certain minimum standards, right? We do this all day in every other area of human life. There are rules and regulations and minimum standards of safety. your doctor has to be qualified, right? They can't just be whoever. So maybe it's software engineers have to now be certified that they know how to build software that is less risky. I hate the idea of throwing just regulation at it, but the only way CEOs seem to give a shit is when you touch the money. And currently, really, there's only 2 or 3 main ways I know that the money can be touched. And the first is the customer not buying your product, right? So that's that consumer side. If the consumer starts to say, no, screw you, do better, then it forces the hand because you're not selling your product because it's not meeting the consumer's need. The second is legal action, whether that's regulatory stuff, whether that's lawsuits for killing my grandma because you didn't patch your IV pump, whatever that is, right? And the third is insurability.
And I think that's the only one.
That's the one we're pushing on the hardest right now.
The only one we can impact.
Making progress.
You won't win the consumer war. Consumer doesn't give a. If we had consumers giving a fuck, they wouldn't have 11 plus devices running around their offices unless they actually knew what the hell they were doing. Neither would they sit there and go, "Hi Siri, let me train you."
But as a CEO, you brought up 3 things. One was a regulatory risk. So you're going to make it a compliance thing. So what I'm going to say as the CEO is, what's the cheapest way we can check all the boxes and get compliant?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've seen it happen in HIPAA, we've seen it happen in GLBA, we've seen it happen everywhere. What I'm going to do is go by the letter of the law, not the intent of the law.
Right.
So whatever you wrote the law to be, it's not what's going to happen. You see it right all the time. So the second thing you brought up was you were going to, what was it? Sue me?
Legal action. Yep.
Legal action.
Okay,
But that also fell under the regulatory piece.
Yeah.
So how many lawyers does Microsoft have?
I get it.
That's a hiding to nothing. And having just gone through it with a vehicle that I cannot name and a situation I cannot go into, that's a nigh on impossible. We went up against one of the big 3, and we also went up against the manufacturer of the home on wheels that we had, and we ended up doing okay out of it and getting shit sorted out, but it wasn't where we wanted it. And good gods, I mean, they not only did they have teams of lawyers, it gets worse because now they have lawyers on retainer. Those lawyers on retainer are not incentivized to close the case. They're going to run the bill up, which means I'm fucked because I don't have as much money as they do to keep running the bill up.
And Ryan, the only reason I'm saying I'm playing devil's advocate.
I know that.
I know.
Totally. Which is, again, we won't be able to do that one.
The third thing you brought up was shit. It was just on the top of my insurance. So what I'm starting to see, because I've been talking, with people, is they're starting to self-insure.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to group up. They're starting to say, well, we'll just insure each other for certain things, and and we'll make claim decisions as a group and whatever. So they're finding their way around that as well. And the reason why they're trying to do this is, again, it's all because of profit, right? You're not going to get in the way of my profit making machine. And I think if you really wanted to get me as the CEO, you wanted to get my attention, hold me accountable directly.
Well, so that goes back to legal. So I want to expand on that. So what could I do to get a CEO to care today, right this minute? Oh dear God, that's an uphill battle, maybe, right?
But don't we have to start working on that now?
We do.
Or shouldn't we already have?
I would love if some of the court cases currently pending find certain CEOs to be gross and willfully negligent. And I would also love to see us add some kind of enhancement that says when your gross and willful negligence falls into these categories, that's real jail time. That's real jail time. That's real, you lose your money, because that would motivate them to.
I agree. And what we can't even decide as our own industry, because we like to trip each other up and we're all smarter than everybody else. We all like to make our own money. What is gross negligence?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've talked about it a million times. How about asset management? How about knowing that you can't possibly protect the things you don't know you have? Start with that one basic fundamental let's say you don't have an asset inventory, we're going to hold you grossly negligent. That's a start.
It
You know what I mean?
is. And
but that reasonability just doesn't exist.
well, we need so did you guys see did you see the blockchain Congress hearing situation?
God, no.
Oh dear God. It was even worse than the Facebook one, right?
You can't unsee it, can you?
It's bad news bears, right? Because it just, again, we have people in positions of decision making who lack any kind of foundational understanding, and I don't know why those representatives don't have somebody from the government side explaining and calling bullshit on some of this testimony.
JCDC, baby.
I just don't get it. But I know part of the problem is that policymakers right now are woefully ill-equipped to even ask the right questions. And, thankfully, at least this hearing, nobody tried to troubleshoot their phone. But,
But dude, that solar.
You know what I'm saying here? Like,
if you were gonna watch one Senate testimony, if I would make a recommendation for anybody to watch one Senate testimony, watch the SolarWinds Senate testimony.
Oh my gosh, that's probably the most depressing thing known to mankind.
But you had one senator in particular. I can't remember his name now.
Just one of his phones fixed.
Out of Oregon, who asked that simple fundamental question: why was the IRS able to mitigate that attack? And the reason why is because they had very strong egress filtering, right? So there was no command and control. And so posing that question to these three, CEOs who are obviously there not to secure shit, they're there to sell you more product.
mm-hmm.
They're for-profit companies, right? So you've got George Kurtz from, Krauts, whatever, I can't even remember. Mandiant. And those are good guys, right? They're smart guys. But there wasn't the basics. Buy more product. Oh, who's Barnett? What am I
No,
supposed
I
to be
think I
looking at
figured
this
out
and
he's
saying
the
this?
chap that I was on the phone with earlier.
Okay, because you guys are holding on a whole side conversation. I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, you're good. You keep
Scroll.
talking about that stuff. No, there's some weird shit going on here that I'm getting a little frustrated by. I want the conversations that we have, I like to ground them in at least a level of reality. And there's some stuff going on that is not grounded in a level of reality, unfortunately.
I'm not grounded. I'm in reality.
No, you're
I'm
fine. No, you're good. There's some stuff going on here when there's like tribal law and this. I'm like, quit this shit. Stop. When we have these conversations, we're having these conversations in a hopefully a fairly articulate manner. So that was it.
Yeah, and you know me, guys, all the time. Not a lawyer, right? But
no, but we've worked with enough lawyers over time to know how ignorant they are as well when it comes to information security. Complete ignorance, and they're prosecuting cases because if we really knew what the hell was going on, we would make some things grossly negligent because so much the law is meant to hold people accountable. Somebody suffered damages, therefore somebody has to pay, whether it's society that pays, i.e. criminal law, or it's another party pays, i.e. civil law. Somebody's got to pay, and nobody's paying.
Not only is nobody paying, here's the challenge with it. And having been a victim of the system on numerous occasions, shall we say, the length and time and effort and money involved is out of the reach of most people. You are basically beaten into submission by paperwork. And if that doesn't do it, bills will do it. And if that doesn't do it, I'll give you others. And that's the challenge. Not that I'm saying that, we go the Judge Dredd route, but I'm saying, again, if we are to affect change in that direction, that whole system's got to change. And again, I'll throw the bullshit flag and go, that ain't happening. Not on our watch.
No, but we're also people that are not just going to sit by and like, that's life. At least you pose potential solutions, and whether anybody's ever going to implement them, at least when shit does hit critical mass and people are like, well, what should we, whatever, you can always go back to this and say, well, this might have been something. Because at some point, without accountability, there is no change. There just isn't.
Right.
I'm going to be motivated by what I'm motivated by. And if I am like most CEOs in for-profit companies, I'm motivated by profit. I want more money. Now, if you're going to tell me, well, but it's a good citizen to implement more checks and balances in your software development lifecycle and, really vet those open source libraries you're pulling from all over the damn place. But it's going to slow down development, which i.e. will slow down profit. I have no interest in that.
Right.
And until, either us as a society, because there's, I think, two things that could potentially shift the tide to hold a CEO accountable. One is the culture. So the culture wakes up, the culture shifts, demands accountability, will no longer buy your products, whatever. Well, we already covered that tonight. I think the culture's shot. I just give me more product, well, hold on. I don't want that new feature on my iPhone. I want to make sure it's secure first. That shit's not happening.
Not happening.
No, I mean, there's no chance. And I mean, and again, I'll go back. Hang on, let's just go back to the numbers. Let's go back to the raw numbers that we worked out. If you actually, I'm going to ask you to, do you two mind if I put a LinkedIn post out about that?
Not at all. Absolutely.
You sure? All right, cool. Obviously,
Yeah.
Credit goes to the whole conversation.
Hashtag truth, dog.
God help us. But here, let's go back to the raw numbers. 1.3 billion potential flaws just in the last 12 months introduced into the 92.7 billion lines of code. How the fuck do you fix that?
On top of 2020s, on top of 2019s, on top of 2018s.
And by the way, and actually, so here's, remember, up till, and I think these stats are from 21, somebody will have to remind me. I think it was like 20 or 21. I looked at, again, we go back to the amount of data being created. The amount of data being created went from every 4 years doubling to now every 2 years doubling.
Well, and for me, I don't even give two shits about data anymore. I really don't. What I give two shits about is the safety issues.
Yeah.
I can shut your fucking house down. I can start it on fire. I can do whatever the fuck I want, make sure that emergency services isn't going to come and kill you.
Yep.
That's what pisses me off, because most of the data that you steal from me, I can sort of recover from, because you're not holding anybody accountable for it anyway. I can, I'll get my money back. Thank you, Regulation E. I can get.
Here's where I care about it.
Number changed, maybe.
Here's why I care about it. Because not all doubling of that data in 24 months is going into those very same pools that we already have created. Large swaths of it will be going into new pools that we create with new apps and new systems and new architectures and new flaws. So that 1.39 billion or whatever, that also is going to exponentially increase. And I'm going to try and do a little bit of digging on it and see. But I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. And that's, it's.
Do we just need to change our language? Do we need to just, instead of calling it a vulnerability, call it a profit losing event?
No, we need, honestly, what I think we need to do is hold the people who should be held accountable for these things, hold them accountable. There's no other way to do this.
Okay, so when are we booking flights to DC to go sit down with the Congress folks and explain to them, give them can we write the questions? Hey, dear DC folks that are listening, we will gladly write the questions that they should be asking.
Yeah, of ACDC or DCBC,
whoever, with the Senate hearings, we'll write the questions for you so that you can ask them and get the correct answers. I mean, we've got that one senator, to your point, that said, hey, how come they,
Senator Wyden, that's who it was.
Wyden, right? Yeah. So great. But we need a whole heck of a lot more good information, little cheat sheets for them to start asking the right questions. What would it do to your profits? That's a fair question. How badly would it erode them? So we can, because they didn't seem to have a problem telling the airline industry they have to spend money. They don't seem to have a problem telling the automotive industry that they got to cut into their profits for safety. They don't seem to have a problem telling the consumer, appliance industry they have to cut into profits for safety. So why do we seem to have a problem telling the tech industry that they have to cut into profits for safety?
Well, that's it, man. I think so. One way is the culture way, and the second way is what you're talking about, right? You've got to make it a legal obligation, and ideally, it's criminal, because I can always skirt around. I can skirt around civil stuff. I mean, honestly, I'll take my own, and I'm a mission guy. Everybody knows that, right? I need enough profit to keep the doors open for me. I'm not motivated by profit. I'm not in this game for money. But from a legal perspective, knowing that shit can happen, you have no idea how we've set things up. So we're so insulated that you can't hold me accountable. That's just, it's bad business if I didn't do it that way, right? You've got LLC on top of LLC. So if you sued me directly, you've got to go through multiple layers of LLCs. It's just like, you'll never get me. And that's how most CEOs are. So we've got to tear that shit away.
Again, I hate to say it, ain't gonna happen.
No, because I go back to it. I'm gonna beat this drum till there's a hole in it. We already have the legal structure in place. We already have consumer safety laws. We already have, it is already a crime if the CEO of Ford says, I know the frame's gonna fail and kill people, but make it that way anyways. They go to jail for that. That's
why is Elon Musk still out, given everything that he's done and the disclosures and the technical? The frame didn't fail, but the software failed. Same shit.
I know, and he's still doing
different tool. Yeah,
he's still doing it too, right? That last.
Yeah. You want to explain to me why he's not locked up? I mean, this is why
he just paid that tax bill he just paid.
Well, see, here's the thing, man. We talked about this in the governance, right? In security simplified governance. Mm-hmm. We all play a game, right? I like looking at things like a game because I'm kind of competitive by nature. And so we play a game according to rules. Whose rules? I don't know. If the rules aren't defined, I'll play by my rules. You play by your rules, and where the intersection is, I don't know. But there's these complex rules that we all play this game by. And Elon Musk, to his credit, has played the game masterfully. He's kicking ass on this game because the rules allow him to play it this way. If we created rules that allowed him, that didn't allow it played this way, and actually enforce the rules, that's the other thing, right? And you think about like the simplest rule, games that you play all the time, like Monopoly, or some game you go to Target and buy and you lay it out. One person reads the rules, one person disseminates the rules, and then you all agree to enforce those rules. When you have questions about the rules, you go and reference the rules. But the rules are the game. It's a simple game. Take that to the complex kind of life stuff. But if nobody's going to enforce the rules, then they aren't really rules, are they?
And so then we go back to, okay, so let's take a step back, because now we've got to fix the legal system. We've got to fix humans. We got to fix CEOs. We got to fix corporations, capitalistic over anything else approach. We're not... Short of playing a teardown game, which I'm all for. I'll pile up the bodies. That I have zero problem piling up the bodies.
I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you're gonna have to.
But so what can we do? Let's go back to this. Let's go back to the software thing. Let's go back to the open source software that runs 99% of our world.
Well, I'll tell you what I plan on doing. This is going on my. So we've talked about this before, and you may have. So a lot of people may have forgotten about it, but the Gray Matter Society.
Mm-hmm.
This is, the nonprofit that, when I'm, God help us, I hope Security Studio, we can just get that thing propelled and I don't have to, because that's one of the things I wanted to do. And it was almost a year ago, actually. It was February of 2021. Are we in 2022 already?
Yeah, we're in 22. Yeah, we're 22.
What the hell? Somebody was going to tell me, maybe?
No, it's fun for you to find out. It's good, these things.
Damn it. No, it was, okay, so it was 11.
God, I love Miller's answer.
it was 11 months ago we talked about this, and 11. This is something that I think we've talked about this before, because Chris, the same sort of like, what the fuck are we going to do about it? That was the same question, same kind of approach you had. It takes numbers.
Yeah.
We need a group of people to come together to solve a problem and make sure it gets implemented. And I think that's the way you do it.
Well, that would require not giving immunity to them when they fuck up. I mean, the problem is there's no follow through, right? Once you get to the certain money level, the rules of justice apply differently.
And that's, Melissa said a brilliant one, because Elon Musk is the flashy future boy wonder that pseudo-intellects loves to fawn over. Essentially, he's become the shepherd. Couldn't have put it better. Absolutely freaking beautifully well put, Melissa. Yeah, and that's the problem. False idols time.
And you guys know I always approach it with a fanciful, optimistic, sparkly-eyed, hope-filled view, right? Like, and then there's reality.
Yeah,
just for anybody, maybe this is the first show you're tuning into. I always take an optimistic view on things because I like to see the world in a better light. So I don't get sad, because this job will make you sad if you let it.
Well, and every you know, as a guy who works with you every day, everybody needs a Ryan, because there are days when it's just like, oh my God, Billy. And Ryan's like, hey man, you know, and yeah, it always lifts me up. But the reality is the reality. You know what I mean? And the status quo is leading us down
a dangerous path.
And that's the positive guy talking.
Yes, I found what I was looking for. Sorry, can I read some stats out for you?
I don't like stats. That's math. I don't do that because it's fact. I don't want to know facts.
I'm going to prefix.
Just tell me your opinions. I want to hear your feelings.
You're not getting opinions. You're getting facts. Well, let me rephrase this. You're getting facts from. Actually, it's a nice report. I was looking for this to give Synopsys some credit. They actually did an open source report. Open source, basically OSSRA report. It's actually not a bad report. I found it a couple of times. I was just looking for this year's. It's a 2021. So 98% of healthcare sector code bases contain open source. 67% of those code bases contain vulnerabilities. I would actually argue that's higher.
2% that aren't.
Hang on. 97% of financial services and fintech sector code bases contain open source.
And the other 3% are out of business.
Yeah, well, no shit. No, they're using blockchain, and we all know blockchain's perfectly secure. Hey, I need to get people onto it so that we can just do everything that we need to do on it. 92% of code bases in the retail and e-commerce sector contain open source, and 71% of the code bases contain. I think it's awesome. It's an alarming 91% of the code bases contain open source dependencies that have had no development active in the last 2 years. So of your 90% of that hasn't been touched in 2 years. Yeah, I'll be fucked.
Yeah.
No, because they got it right. It hasn't been touched because they got it. It's secure.
Oh, it's perfect. Everything's good. Everything's good. Yeah. Which is why we should still be running Windows. Honestly, if I had my way, if I was dictator for life, we'd all go back to fucking Windows XP and be done with it.
I mean, it was a solid OS. It was pretty solid OS.
It worked. And you know what? We should have stayed on fucking Windows XP and actually maybe fixed a few more of the issues.
I actually liked XP as well.
It worked.
The only bug-free, error-free software I've ever written was Hello World.
No, it had a bug.
Probably.
It had one L.
Yeah, right.
Hell World.
And no error handler. No, it had a bug because it didn't have an error handler.
or the fucking interpreter was all fucked.
Oh my gosh. John just said it needs to be posted on LinkedIn. John, I'm actually going to do a post on this. I'll figure it out.
So I agree 100%, man. The reality is we are fucked. But I'm also a believer that every problem can be solved if you're willing to put in the hard work and think about it. If you're willing to take the bias out of the equation, take the, whatever ulterior motive you might have, if you really want to solve the problem and focus on the fucking problem, you can solve it.
We're doing it. Security Studio is doing that in our micro focus of the problem that we're solving, right? So what's the problem? my risk, I don't know how to manage it, and it's coming in from all these angles. So we're working on ways to consolidate it so that you can see it more clearly. You can see it in context. Therefore, it's actionable. Speaking to the CEO profit piece, right? Hey, we make this a less expensive proposition because you're spending less time, you're spending less resource, you're making more profits, right? So, I'll do it again because I've gotten some calls. Some people have taken me up on the challenge. So once again, I'm going to challenge. If you're a business leader, if you are in this IT industry, step up and follow the lead. Do the right thing for the right reason. Lead with protection before profits. I'm not saying make everything 100% secure and don't be in business, but there are little things you could do today that would actually make your software better, less risky, more secure, and you'll be in a better position to deal with those vulnerabilities when they get discovered. And I don't think it's going to be that hard. We're going to keep doing stuff on Security Simplified. At some point, we'll get to a series on, how would you implement micro changes to development that reduce risk and improve security. I do think it can be done. I don't think it's the magic bullet, but status quo has got to go. Somebody's got to do something different. So we'll be that somebody, and y'all are free to join us in this mission of trying to do it a little bit different. If enough of us do it, we might actually make a change.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I think, Security Studio is good at putting risk into context for people who give a shit about risk. I think the bigger problem is, do people give a shit about risk?
Well, that's a societal problem. So risk, I finally read this article. Risk is hazard plus outrage.
I don't like that definition. I'm going with my own.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean,
it's an interesting take on it, and it's stepping out of our understanding.
So hazard and outrage fits within the context of likelihood and impact.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with that. I just think it's a little.
It was an interesting take on it, and it was more about how the average person evaluates risk, how they see risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the average person views risk as like, will this thing make me work?
No.
Will this thing decrease my pleasure?
No,
because
no.
That's the only two things I give a shit about.
No, here's the problem. Here's the challenge. We are talking from and I'm not being elitist. We're talking from a position of, how should we say?
I'm an addict, man. Just give me more technology, please. I needed my fix.
Thank you.
Position.
We're talking from an informed position. Okay. When we talk about risk, we are talking from an informed, and if we're not informed, we will go and work out how to become informed. Mm-hmm. And we will do it independently. We will do it as best as we can without judgment, prejudice, biases, or as anything else. Okay. We do that deliberately. My challenge and my caveat, if we play the averages game, you got 330 in this country. So you got 165 million are going to do that, and 165 million are going to turn on to fucking CNN, Fox, NPR, and pick one of those three because it looks pretty and the colors are good, and there's their decision.
Yeah, I think it's even more sliced and diced than that. But yeah, it's
totally. But I'm when I do it that way, I'm playing a very, very defensible position, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's way more than that, but I'm playing a defensible position because I want to give some credit where it's probably not due, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're going to solve this, you need to simplify it as much as possible. Identify what the problem is. What is the motivation? Why would I give a shit? Where are the decisions? Where are the decisions made in an organization that are made at the top?
No, not anymore. I'm going to challenge that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to challenge that. Ha!
All right.
And I'm going to use your words to challenge that from earlier.
All right.
In a financial market, the decision's not made at the top. They're made by the AI engine and the quant engine. And
no,
that's...
As the CEO, I can... No.
Yeah.
As the CEO, dude, No. As the CEO, I can overrule that decision anytime I damn well please. I'm in the position of power. So I am ultimately in the position of power in this organization. I have delegated some decisions to this AI machine, but at the end of the day, I make the decisions.
But that's you.
I'll show you the paycheck to prove it.
That's you because you take that responsibility. I'll point out of
I chose your fucking AI because I didn't want to work fucking as hard, and I wanted to blame the AI when shit goes bad. I didn't want to take accountability myself.
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, my AI.
I'm the one who chose the fucking AI to go in the first place.
Nah, you delegated to people. You delegated to people.
I chose at the end of the day that we were going to spend X number of millions of dollars to put this AI system in place to help me make better decisions. I will either trust it or I will not. But at the end of the day, I will go with whatever I want to go with.
But that's you.
No, every CEO.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Look at the governing documents of any financial institution.
Now governing documents doesn't come down to a human. Every CEO might or should have to, but they sure as hell don't.
You don't think a CEO of any financial institution can't say that I'm going to make a decision different than what the AI told me to make?
They might be able to.
Can they?
Can, yes, do, no.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a big difference. Can they means
Absolutely.
that they're the ones in power. So they are the ones who make the decision then.
But they're not going to.
Doesn't matter.
They paid money for the AI engine. They're not going to have egg on their face by disagreeing with the engine they paid billions
Doesn't matter. Can they?
Which means that I'm going to use AI. Which means
can is a decision.
I'm going to use AI to take over. It's easier that way.
Good luck to you.
So what you're witnessing now is the AI version of Chris and the AI version of Evan having a debate about AI. This was a previously recorded episode using.
And I love those debates. I love those debates because those are debates that don't happen.
Right.
They don't happen regularly. I respect Chris.
It's the same.
To the mountain and back.
Yeah.
100%.
But this is where
we can have this discussion, and I'm not tearing him I'm not calling him names. He's not calling me names.
This to me is where I used AI in a general way. This to me is where I think the decision making for this is not going to be human. We're not going to be making the decisions. I think as we go along with this, we will be making less and less decisions. You've only got to look at a SOAR technology. Let's take SOAR. Security orchestration. You get 1 billion events coming in. You can't make a decision on those. You rely on the machine to make a decision. Yes, you gave it an initial algorithm. Yes, you gave it an initial analysis. But that machine is now making decisions about what you should do. It's the same thing in the financial market.
So when the machine fails and the machine makes a shitty decision, what do you do to the machine?
You've already actioned that decision. You'll have already actioned that decision, and the consequences thereafter are what you're suffering.
Okay, so who pays the price? Who's held accountable?
Not the AI, not the machine, not the system. Probably,
nobody.
Yeah.
So it's just the same fucking vicious cycle of nobody wants to be accountable for shit.
But I think this is what's going to happen. This is why I don't think it's going to get solved, because we're shifting the problem. The problem now is with a certain group.
Exactly. If you want to solve the problem, you got to solve the problem. You can't just.
But we're not going to. We're going to engineer our way out of this one by putting an intelligent system in place that says we'll let it make the decisions, and that'll have problems. So we'll make it. We're going to build more and more steps on this, and that's.
I agree, and that's going to be almost. You're almost describing the demise of the human race.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm not doing it in a dystopian way, and I'm not doing it in a. No. I'm laying out what's going to happen.
Well, I have a dystopian option that fixes it, that speaks to Evan's accountability and makes the AI actually work a little better. And that's being uniquely identified for your actions and activities. You connect to the computer, that's you. Everything that happens, that's you. Yes, you. It's
I don't want to be connected to the computer.
I don't support, endorse. I would not go along with myself. That would be the day I'd chip or shred my computer. No, thank you. I don't need the internet.
Why? But no. But why?
If I can identify, because, dude, crime. right?
would
So
solve
now
problems.
you take it from this big because it's so easy to get away with it and it's so easy to commit it, and you start to shrink it down. How many successful bank robbers, right? Remember when you had to rob the bank? You had to go to the bank,
physically go to the bank.
you
Yeah, it
go
was a
in the
pain in the
bank,
ass.
and
You can still do
you
that.
had to take a gamble
You don't
on
get as
whether
much.
you
You don't
got
get
out
as
with
much.
the money or you got
That's
shot.
right. You'll get away
All
with
right,
it.
but
a lot
hang on,
more
whoa,
often.
whoa, 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 whoa.
It's that risk reward ratio, right? So
Yeah. You
you
don't
know,
get
with
as
the
much.
way
All right.
risk works, the likelihood of me getting busted by going from bank to bank to bank to rob it in person
Mhm.
has diminished significantly. And the reward has also diminished significantly. But mathematically, when you work it all out, it's probably about the same as it is online.
All right, so
Really?
hang on. I want to go back to Ryan. He's not escaping from this one. You have just given me a way of solving the problems.
What
Why
problem?
why are you going to stay away from? Why are you walking away from it?
Oh, because I'm out. I don't want to play
Why?
that game. Because I don't want to play that game.
But you've solved the problem. You have to play that game to be part of the problem solution. You've got to play. You can't not play this game. You have to be part of it. If you're going to give me a solution, you
Don't
have
listen
to
to
be
him, Ryan.
part
You
of it.
can choose not to play.
No, he
Just
can't
step away.
choose.
Step
No,
away
there
from the
is no
console
choice.
now,
No,
please.
no choice. No
I
choice.
become a Luddite.
Your freaking Second Amendment,
I'm
Third
just-
Come to
Amendment,
Mexico,
bearing
Ryan.
arms,
Come to
bollocks to
Mexico.
that.
I
It ain't
protect you.
happening.
I mean, it's
Come to
totalitarian.
One for
Mexico,
all
brother.
for one. It
I
is
will protect you. Come to
totalitarianism,
Mexico.
but it's for your own good. It's a
Don't
good
listen to him.
totalitarianism. It's all
He
for
is
your own good.
socially
They're
engineering
going to
your house
help
right
you.
now.
He's
No, no.
trying.
Click
He
the
doesn't
link.
know. He doesn't know who he's
Don't
talking.
click the link.
It's too close to the line. I can't do it. Sorry.
No, but here's the problem.
If at any
He's going
point-
again. Do you hear it again? He's going
If
again.
it's going to work, if this is going to work, if we
There
are
he is.
actually going to
Hear
solve
him?
crime, solve all these things, you have to be part of it. Come in and be part of the solution.
Ryan, you need a better shepherd. Don't follow this shepherd.
I'm not. I got a guy upstairs. It's like, hey, you just don't do those things. That's not.
Oh my
No.
God.
But
you're right. I think
though, that you have to have something. We've got to do something that it's always been a catch-22 for me. Anonymity, true anonymity, we've talked about, can exist if you are superhuman computer ninja and put in 6 months of work.
Yeah.
Okay. For everybody else, it already doesn't exist, but it's not a direct tieback. And I don't like the idea of losing anonymity, because I do think there is and has and always will be a need for it. But it's this, I don't know.
he's got a knife.
Anonymity.
I struggle with it, because the biggest part of why the criminals are getting away with it is because it's easy to get away with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no accountability. That's the thing. There are things that motivate. It's like go back to, like, do you remember? You're like, well, for people who went to, I mean, some people went to college, some people didn't. That doesn't matter. There's Pavlov's theory, right?
Mhm.
And it's so fundamental to psychology. It's, dogs, what motivates them to do certain things. The same thing applies to human beings. What motivates them to do certain things? It's either the avoidance of pain, or the presence or the reward of something that they view valuable, pleasure, whatever, pleasure probably, right? So if I want people to change, it's either got to hurt. The bad decisions either have to hurt, or the good decisions, I need to get something for it, right? So when you look at me as the CEO, when I'm the CEO and you're talking to me about all these things, that's what I'm, whether I'm consciously thinking that or subconsciously thinking that, I'm thinking to myself, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to lead to my decision. Is this going to make more profit? Well, hell no, it's not. Well, not interested. Is there going to be any pain if I make the wrong decision? No. Well, hell not. I'm not interested. What's the motivation for me to change? Nothing. There's no motivation for me to change. If anything, there's more motivation for me to continue to cut corners, because nobody else is being held accountable either. I don't know if you've ever talked to CEOs before, but they always ask, when you give them information security risk assessment results, they always like, how do we rate with everybody else?
Everybody else, exactly.
You're okay. Oh, good. We're good then, right? Well, no, because you all suck.
Yeah.
The whole population sucks. Well, but we're with everybody else though, right?
Right. Yeah. As long as we're all standing in the shit together, it's fine, right?
And there's a secondary reason why they asked that question. The secondary reason why they asked that question is the due care due diligence thing, right? This civil negligence thing. If I fall below the line of the rule, right? If I fall below that line, there's a better chance that I may be found negligent. So when I ask what everybody else is doing, as long as I'm in the same area, chances are much less that I'm going to be found, irresponsible. But again, that goes back to those core motivations. The reason why I'm even thinking about that is because I want to make sure that I'm not going to suffer pain. So you want CEOs to change, either make them suffer pain or give them a reward. I think it's as simple as that. Otherwise, what does happen is what Chris is saying, because it's completely valid. In my mind, it's completely valid. Why wouldn't it go that way? So it's whether or not we're going to step into this somehow. I don't know. I won't give up either. I mean, I will run to another country. So good luck in the US.
It's going to be, I think this will be one of the last bastions of lack of accountability when it comes to countries. I mean, don't get me wrong, and I'm not laying hate on the US. I live here, for crying out loud, and I've actually got a lot of love for this country, but I'm also not sitting there with blinkers on. And when you look at other countries around the world and how they are tackling it, some are actually doing it well. Some are doing a dystopian, very how should we say, dictatorial way of doing it, for good or for bad. It's worked in some cases, and sure as hell hasn't in others. For good or for bad, this country, it's good. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough country to get this to work effectively in, and accountability being the biggest one of the challenges. And I think that's a shame.
It's cost of freedom.
And I think that's it. I think that's those. I feel, and this will be an interesting conversation for another evening, because we have, we're getting close. We're crashing over past 2 hours. I think that concept of freedom and accountability, I would love to argue one evening and go, are they mutually exclusive or can they coexist?
Well, there's your topic for March, man.
Actually, I like that one. I'm going to kick that one on the spreadsheet. Yeah, that's a good call.
And I would love to talk about that one too.
Yeah,
I think it's a great discussion.
Yeah.
That'll be a good debate.
Ryan, great topic tonight, man.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you.
Guys, I'll try to come up with another one or two decent ones. I'll get that spreadsheet updated for before next week.
And Chris, dude, awesome. You're with it, man. You're on point. I can tell that you're hitting on all cylinders, which is great to see.
It's nice to be a little more back, shall we say. It probably also helps. I got some kind of like, Ryan needs sleep. I actually got some sleep. I crashed. Well, you probably saw the text message. I didn't do it the way I should have done. I actually had a couple of drinks last night, and I kind of worked out afterwards how much I had drunk. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that again in a hurry. I had 3 drinks that I made, and each one had 6 to 8 ounces at least of gin in it. Plus I went through almost a bottle of gin last night, and I'm like, I shouldn't do that. But I crashed at 12:30. I woke up at 6, and I've been, to your point, firing on cylinders. It was actually nice to get some sleep at a reasonable time of the night.
Yeah,
but no, it's nice.
All I actually have is this head. I don't even have a body anymore.
It's nice to do this. I love hanging out with the two of you is actually, and everybody on the audience from Standpoint as well, is actually fantastic, and I freaking love this. So thank you. Oh, and I committed us, just so you guys are aware, while we were bashing through this, Rachel was talking about, are we going to do another get together? And I'm like, hell yeah, Nebraska at some point in time in the summertime.
Mexico.
I can't.
Those damn CKs,
dude. If they can smuggle all that shit that way, you don't think we can smuggle some shit this way?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's empty submarines going back the other direction. I'm gonna just hitch a ride as long as I don't show them the bags.
I can probably put you in the back of the damn Mini and get you across the border.
Actually, we'll just borrow one of Dave's planes and just fly across. I'm sure there'll be no problems with that.
Get you across the border. Don't worry about it.
Believe me, if I
didn't do it.
If I couldn't get across the border on my own, I'd be in worse trouble than I think I already am. But
I'll go on record. I did do it. I've been making some very good Mexican friends. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there are some good peoples.
And if they're as good as they say they are, they will help me out in this matter.
Nice. We got tunnels. I mean, that is a nice thing about it. We got some decent tunnels.
I think it's for going the other way again, though. I don't know.
I know, but
You'll
again,
have,
you know, it's
you'll
like
have to straddle like the carts as you're
I know,
coming
but I mean,
through.
that's okay. I mean, you just open the door and you're like, hey, like, go that way, and I'm going that way. You'll be fine. No problem. I'll close the door behind me on the other end.
I don't know. Maybe the guy who's washing the door give him $50 and you're good to go.
That is true. Yeah, that's a good way.
But then you're going to end up in Tijuana. Somehow we got to get you from Tijuana down to here.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be in that neck of the woods. I don't quite fit in, unfortunately.
Maybe a cargo ship. Cruise ship? Can you do cruises?
No, cruise ships are full of people with bugs. I mean, good God.
Don't worry about it. Just
no, cargo ships.
You're sitting in your cabin room. They'll bounce, from
no, because here's the other problem with the cruise ship.
Lucas to Mazatlan to here. You'll be here in 3 days.
Here's the problem with the cruise ship. No,
I'm gonna call the show tonight. These two can figure out how they're smuggling Chris to Mexico without my involvement. I don't need any other visits. Love you, people.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everybody.
Next week. Bye.
Bye.